Now, you might remember last weekend I was speaking about Wellspring, which is the new diocesan renewal project, which is launching on the weekend of the 11th of February. And this weekend, I want to devote some time to speaking about one of the key goals and ambitions of Wellspring. And it's really, the goal is to foster deeper faith in us, those who are practicing our faith, so that we can better reach out to those who are perhaps struggling or disengaged with their faith, with the church, with sacraments. So Wellspring at its core is about forming disciples, missionary disciples, prophets really in the world, those who are engaged with the important work of renewing and growing our parishes and our communities. And so at the heart of it, yes, it's about us, those who are practicing, to be formed, but it's about being outward-looking, having this genuine concern for the faith and the spiritual well-being of other people as well. And I read recently a story that demonstrates this goal very, very well in a brilliant book that I was reading called Divine Renovation. If you haven't got one, Divine Renovation, fantastic book. And it can help us, I think, to see with more clarity our identity as missionary disciples of the church. So, the story, it revolves around the events of the 14th of April, 1912. And for the historians here, you will know that's a very important date. That's when the Titanic ship sank after colliding with a huge iceberg. And that night when the ship sank, there were a catalogue of errors leading up to the tragedy. But equally tragic was the fact that many hundreds of people needlessly perished in the icy waters. In fact, no more than half of the lifeboats were filled. And of the 18 life rafts that did launch that night, can you imagine, there were 472 empty spaces on those life rafts. And after the ship disappeared below water, around 1,500 people floundered in the icy waters, while these half-full lifeboats sat a safe distance away, watching on. And only 2 of the 18 lifeboats actually went to rescue these stricken survivors. And it was recorded that in those 2 boats, when they went to gather up some of the survivors, it was recorded afterwards that some of the first-class passengers on the lifeboats, they complained about the inconvenience of having to move over to give more space for these survivors as they dragged them out of the water. And by the time the other lifeboats made themselves useful eventually, only 9 people were found alive, and only 6 of them would survive out of 1,500 people in the water. Now, why do I tell that story? Well, is that not a metaphor for the church of our times? We exist in the church. We exist for mission. Jesus has sent us into the lifeboat of the church to seek and to save those who are alone, those who are struggling. And there are plenty of seats available. Yet so often as a church, we can sit at a safe distance. We can be more concerned about our own needs and our own comfort. And perhaps if a few people swam to us, then we would help them. But would we actually take the initiative to reach out to them? Why is this the case? Why is this the case in the church? It's not just about our comfort zones being challenged. It certainly is that, but it's more than that. Perhaps it's the case that we have lost to some extent the idea of who we are as Christians. What is our deepest identity? We are disciples. We are missionaries. We are evangelists. We are prophets in the world today. And reaching out to others is actually what we are made for. But instead of reaching out, sometimes we get comfortable. We maintain our lifeboats, which is our churches, our parishes. We paint them, we heat them, we adorn them, we serve the people who come into them. But we don't always use them for their intended purposes, which is to reach out. And I think we all lament the tragedy of the loss of faith in our culture. We lament secularization, the hemorrhaging of our young people, church closures, and so on. But it does not occur to us to pick up oars and start rowing towards people. We exist for mission. The church exists to evangelize. And Wellspring is about giving us all a shake, maybe the shake that we all need, so that we can find our truest identity once again. And so we should prepare ourselves for the graces, the opportunities that this renewal will bring. And we should ask the Lord to give us these generous and open hearts to reach out, to share this precious gift that we have with others. We know that we have the pearl of great price, our faith. We know that our salvation comes ultimately from our faith. And so because we have that knowledge, that faith, it is our duty, it is our responsibility to share that with everyone who needs to hear it. As practicing Catholics, it's our responsibility to tell others about this gift that has given us so much life and purpose. And that's a conversation that we'll be invited in Wellspring to start in our homes and with our families again. A wise person once said, being a disciple is this: it's one poor beggar telling another poor beggar where to find bread. It's a great expression. Discipleship, faith is this: it's one poor beggar telling another poor beggar where to find bread. This is our missionary faith. So let Wellspring re-energize all of us in the task of living and sharing our faith. Amen.